Hello, hello. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Open Shutter tonight, Wednesday. I think it's the 16th of December, and we have an interesting show lined up for you guys. Today is going to be a fun one. On this channel, we always talk about helping ourselves improve and grow. And on Open Shutter, the whole idea is to build a community of photographers, creators, videographers who learn together, grow together in everything that we do. So today we have a special guest, Kobby Katalist. For those of you who don't know Kobby, you're gonna hear a lot about him today. You're gonna learn how much of information the guy has built in inside of him. We're gonna talk about the business of photography, right? Most of the time when you start photography, we all start for fun, but down the line we want to make a business out of it. And if you don't start it the right way, chances are you're gonna end up in a situation where you're stuck or you're struggling and you cannot make ends meet with the gift that God has given you and the creative skills that you have. So the whole purpose of today's show is for us to talk about how to start out right, or even if you are an experienced photographer who is already in the business, some things that you can do to adjust certain things that will help you grow financially, as well as enjoy what you do. Because sometimes when we are working too much and we are not seeing the income coming in that is equivalent to what we are doing, we stress out and we give up. So I'm going to introduce in our panel, and they're all going to introduce themselves one by one, and we're going to talk about everything here. So let's get started and let's see what we have in stock for today. It's going to be an interesting time. Don't forget, the comments are already there. Leave your questions as we go along, and we'll try to get into as much as we can within the next 1 hour. All right.
Also, Evans Bryan is here.
Yes, Mr. Brian James is here.
Hey.
He's
Okay, now Kobby has
I'm
some
sorry.
competition.
I'm sorry. Kobby is still the best dressed person on this show right now.
Oh,
I gotta say.
no,
That
no,
Brian
no.
might have came in with something, but
Let's see. Well, I wasn't ready for this. Let me get my microphone out here.
like,
There you go.
Kobe, I see you. I see you.
man, he's looking good.
Yeah, I did all of this because
What, you
of
guys
you.
have the same microphone?
Oh yeah, and then there are the lights to Brian to change up his lights today. I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did my cyan light because of Brian. I don't know why he didn't bring his. Can you put back the cyan light, please?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's start with the introductions. Meek, since you're next to me,
Oh, okay.
introduce yourself. We go that way.
All right. So my name is Salom Jaka. Business name is Meek Photos. I am a portrait and wedding photographer based in Fort Worth, Texas. I love being here, and I'm glad to be on the show today. If this is your first time, give the video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to Evan's channel. And see ya.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks
Paul.
everyone for jumping on. And for those of you guys who don't know who I am, my name's Paul, based in Toronto. Run a photography meetup group called Get Out Shoot Toronto. Visit us at getoutshoot.com. Make sure, like Meek said, make sure you like and comment this video. Make sure you subscribe to Evans. And if you guys don't know, if you guys are new to this show, we all have YouTube channels, including Kobby, who just launched it like last week. So that's very exciting. So make sure you check out our channels. My channel is about photography and daily life as a photographer. So if that's kind of your jam, check it out. And it's going to be a fun show because I kind of want to make money at this photography thing. So I'm hoping you guys can teach me.
Well,
All right. Mr. Brian James.
Oh, it's me. Oh, I don't have much to say. I'm Mr. Brian James. For those of you that don't know me,
Brian James on the internet.
I'm just here for the free food. I heard there was free food.
Well,
so I'm a
there
street
is.
photographer mainly, but I do portrait work as well. And for those of you who don't know me, please check me out. My Instagram handle's below my name. Also, you can check me out on YouTube, where I'm 7 subscribers short of 1,000. So
Can
please help me
someone
out.
please get Brian at 1,000 tonight?
7. Come on,
Yeah.
we can do it.
So guys, we have a challenge tonight, right? There's two things I want to promote tonight. We have Kobby, who is about to introduce himself. His YouTube channel just started, and we have to show him some support. You guys are going to listen to him today, and if you like how he's going or what we talk about today, there is more of that stuff coming up on his channel, right? And we've got Mr. Brian James here, who is 7 subscribers away from 1,000. Let's make it happen tonight,
Make
guys.
it happen.
Make it happen, right?
And I got a new video coming out tomorrow too. So
Oh,
Everybody's YouTube links as well as Instagram is in the description. So check out everyone's channel, Instagram, and then let's support each other and grow together.
yeah.
Yep.
thank you.
All right, Kobby, your turn.
Yeah.
Introduction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kobby Katalist. I'm the new baby on the block. I've been on Open Shutter a couple of times, but they still call me a guest. I think they want to kick me out, but I'm here today basically on one purpose for us to share the knowledge of the business side of photography. I know Mr. Brian down there is a guru there, so we are ready to tap in from all of them, the Toronto guys and then the Texas guys. So it's going to be a discussion, as I always say. It's not a lecture, so we need to interact. You guys will be interacting in the comment box, and then we'll be interacting live. So we pick up your comments and then your suggestions, and then we add it to what we have so that everyone can have it. You can find me on all social media platforms on the name Kobby Katalist. This is the first time I can say that because I fought for like 3 months to get all of my social media platforms to have my name. So thank you for having me. I hope it's going to be a great time.
Hello, Ishman. Welcome to the show. Okay, guys. So leave us comments in the description. Let us know you're hearing everything fine and clear. Let us know how your day's been. Right? Leave comments in the description or in the comments below. All right. So, Mr. Kobby, first question for you. I'm a beginner photographer. At what point do I determine if I'm ready to take the next step and begin to charge for my services?
Well, one thing I'll say is right from the bat, you should make up your mind, just like any other business. If you are going into the retail business, if you are going into the business of selling clothes, you don't say, first of all, you are going to give out your clothes for free for everyone until people say your clothes are beautiful before you start selling it. So right from day one, you are selling yourself as a photographer who is ready to make it as a business. Now, the question that I think you should ask is, well, how do you market yourself in order to get the price that you are pegging yourself to? So not necessarily when do you charge. If you ask the question of when do you charge, then I don't see you as a business photographer. You're more of a hobbyist. You are still perfecting your skill. But at the point where you decide that I'm taking it as a business, that is the moment that you make up your mind that you have a price, you have a target, you have a profit margin, all of those business stuff that we'll be talking about. It starts right from the beginning, just like any other business.
Right. So my question more was like, let's say I just picked up photography as a hobby, right?
Yeah.
And I've been shooting for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I feel like, oh, I can make a business out of it, right? And I
Yeah.
want to start. So basically, what you're saying is, at that particular point, I need to decide when I make up my mind that I'm going to make a business out of it. I need to be able to start putting into place structures on what I'm going to charge and how I'm going to charge.
Exactly.
All right, I have
Perfect.
something to say to that.
Yep.
So yes, I do understand that, you have to start charging as early as possible. But one thing we have to take note, especially for photography, especially for event photography, weddings and stuff, is that you are dealing with stuff that happen once in a lifetime for some people. And so that puts it in a whole different category. It's not just you are selling clothing so if you haven't mastered your camera, if you don't understand what crazy things your camera can do, you are bound to miss shots. You are bound to spoil somebody's day. You are bound to get sued. You're bound to get on a blacklist. And so you have to make sure you hone those skills down fully before you take on such bigger projects. But you can start charging for little stuff before you pick up the big project. And for weddings and stuff, you definitely should second shoot and have that experience before you start charging.
Yeah. Well, Mick, this is what I'll say about that. Just like you said, there is good business and there is bad business. That's one underlying factor. Anyone can charge for photography and then have a bad reputation for destroying people's birthday or destroying people's special wedding day or birthdays and all of that. Maybe that's the reputation they will create for themselves, and then they will end up ruining their business. But then it still doesn't prevent them from charging. So I think it's more of, if you put together the right strategy in order to make your business a success. So making your business a success, I think, is definitely different from creating a business. You can choose to create a business. I can choose to become a painter and charge someone to paint their room, and it could be messy. And the person is going to pay me all right, but the person will sue me for damages, and the person will give me some reputational risk of no one ever calling me to paint their room.
Well, see, I understand what you are saying, but the question here is, we are trying to advise new people. When do you know it's time to start charging? Are you telling anyone who just got a camera for this Christmas, go ahead and charge for your first wedding, take on your first wedding, or take on your first gig? You get
Exactly
what I mean?
not. Exactly not.
So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. That at the end of the day, our main point is to advise people on the best way of starting a good photography business, starting a business that will last a long time. But then one of the mistakes that I have found out, based on talking to a number of photographers and all of that, is them starting professionally, and professionally in quotes, because I know Brian has a lot of issues about the word professional photographer. Them starting and then professionally saying that I'm not charging, or I'm going to allow the client to dictate how much I am worth, and all of those kind of figures. Because then if we do that, then we are leading people to using the word exposure, telling them that it's fine for you to start by claiming exposure first, so that people will determine your amount that you should charge before you start earning. And that, to me, is another form of reputational risk in the long run. Because let's say you move to Texas, right? And then people from Texas decided to dictate how much you should charge and say that, oh, I want to pay you $150 for a whole photo session, or I want to pay you $50. Once they do that, 2 or 3 people also come with the same $50, and then it becomes your price. That's now you have to take your time to put another strategy in order to up it up to the standard price of Texas. And those are some of the things that I feel is key that will let people know.
Correct. And one of the reasons why I'm very interested in this topic is that, see, personally, I was fortunate to have a mentor when I started. And so I know what I was getting into. I knew some information on pricing and stuff, but not everyone is that fortunate, right? We all take a camera and we start out as fun. But at some point, we begin to say, okay, I want to make a business out of it. And at that point, when you get to start charging somebody, or when the first time that you make up your mind that for this gig, I'm going to charge, I believe that from that point, you need to have some kind of pricing guideline or some sort of method for which you are determining how much you're going to charge. If someone comes to you as a first-time photographer who's going to charge for the first time, right? And then you say, oh, how much can you give me? Right there and then you've devalued yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't know your own wealth. You don't know what you are worth, right? You don't know how much your time is worth. Because customers come to us and they think that I'm only paying you for 1 hour. You're coming to take a picture for 1 hour. And if you as the photographer accept that kind of terms, right, you are limiting yourself because you're not working for 1 hour. You are taking pictures for 1 hour, maybe. You are at the event for 1 hour, maybe, but you've got another 2 or 3 hours of editing to do, right? And so we got to learn at the beginning that I need to factor all of these stuff into my pricing and how I'm charging this person. Otherwise, we end up working for free because I've said to people that if somebody calls me and tells me, come and do a 1 hour shoot for 150, I'd rather spend that time with my kids because for me it's more valuable, right, than to go spend that 1 hour shoot for and say I'm charging you $150, because at the end of the day, I'm losing money that way, because time is money.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know so many people have gone through that, and they're afraid to put a price on what they do, because they say, well, I'm better than this person, but they have more experience. So, I know people that will do a wedding and they'll say, well, they're friends of mine, I'll do it for 600. And then 15 hours later into the editing and trying to put together a photo book and yada, 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 you divide it all out. And I'm like, you made $4 an hour. You may as well just work at McDonald's. You make 10 times that amount. That doesn't make sense. So I think we go on back and forth about it's I think it's a complicated answer. When do you start charging for your work? And I don't know if we'll come up with a solid answer for that. But as we've talked about in the past, I would encourage people to practice on your friends and family first, and then don't let other people determine your worth. You need to determine that. But if I set my 1 hour portrait studio pricing at $1,000 and I don't get any clients, does that mean I'm not worth $1,000, or does that mean I haven't mastered the business aspect of it? Have I not marketed myself properly? Have I not built those funnels? Are you not seeing me on social media? Because you know what? There's photographers that charge 1/10 of what I charge, but they're booked every single day. So they're working 10 times harder than me because my price point is higher, but business wise, they're doing very well. So, there's in a photography business, you need talent, you need know-how, and you also need to know how to run the business. And I hope Kobby will help us out on that. Right, Kobby?
Well, I guess we are all going to help out.
So Kobby, for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to let you run through what you have for us, and then we will take some questions as well as we go through.
Okay. So there is this particular slide that I have that I'll bring it in later because it's a really important slide. I always use that to summarize everything that has to do with the photography business, because one thing that people forget is photography is just like any other business. Everything is the same. It's all about income, expenditure, making profit, paying taxes, and then taking home something in your pocket at the end of the day. And paying taxes into brackets, because there are ways where you can pay little or no taxes legally, depending on your jurisdiction and then how things are done. So one thing that I will always say is, if I am thinking about the business side of photography, then I'm not going to focus on the style. I'm not going to focus on the style of photography. I'm going to focus on your brand. And I say brand because marketing is key. So there are a number of aspects when it comes to photography and the effect it has on your business. And the first one is your brand. Because your brand is going to help with your marketing. What kind of niche are you looking at? Are you looking at the corporate world? Are you looking at the entertainment world? Are you looking at the event world? Are you looking at the art world? Because someone like Brian James, when you go on his page and then he says that, look, this is what I create. These are the nice, beautiful pictures, artwork that I create. You can purchase them through this link. When you go there and then you like it and you buy it and you print it out and you put it on your wall, that's an art piece. But imagine if Mick is shooting wedding pictures and then he has it on his page that if you like any of the wedding pictures, you can click on it, print it out, and put it in your room. It doesn't make business commercial sense in any way. So those are the first things you have to look at. It's a brand in terms of what is your market niche? What are you looking at? Are you going to be in a place like, let's say California, let's say Sacramento, and then you call yourself an African art photographer, and all the content you have out there, they are not resonating to the market, but you're charging just like someone based in Ghana creating African art content, the same kind of price elevation worldwide. It might be that your work is so good, but then you are in the wrong market niche. So as Brian was saying, that sometimes you feel like, well, your work is better than this other person's work, but then they are charging more, and then people are paying them. But you are even charging sometimes less, and then you're still not getting anyone to even call you for business. So you have your market niche, you have the kind of brand that you represent, you have the category that you find yourself in. And for me, those are the three things to start before I even go to bookkeeping and all of the other aspects of the business. I need to make sure that I'm securing my category, securing my market, securing my brand in terms of my photography brand, not personal brand in a way. There's a way you can dissociate your photography brand from your personal brand. And people do it and they succeed. So if you have these three elements down, then you are ready to go to the next stage, which is the bookkeeping stage. So I don't know if so far I have made enough to bring out a few questions from people, including my friends up here. Because I feel like Brian has something to ask. He's squeezing his eyes, ready to. This is the first time I'm actually on the show with Brian at the same time. So.
No, this is how my eyes always look because I'm tired. Just got done with work.
You've seen too much of the city, huh?
No, I think that's okay. I think you can go on if we don't have any questions. I'll hold off.
Mick, do you have something?
Go on for a bit. I'll let you go on for a bit before I throw it in there.
So during my days of lecturing, there was two things. If you ask the class that has any question and then they are quiet, it's two things. It's either they didn't understand anything you said, or they understood everything you said. So I don't know if we are safe on the same page. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share quickly that slide, and then I'll continue talking whilst we figure it out, because that will make much more sense.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And guys in the chats, if you have any comments, any questions, don't forget we're here. So leave your questions in the chat as we go. If there's anything particular you would want to see us touch on, leave that in the comments as well. So Mr. Kobby Katalist, as you were going through the slides, I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about getting started and all that stuff, but I want to ask, at what point let me put it this way, is having a business plan necessary for photography, and at what point do you actually think of putting one together? Because we always think about starting a business and having business plans, but I see most photographers tend to think that a business plan is not really related to photography kind of business. So is that something that you would recommend, and at what point do you think it's good to start having a business plan as a photographer for your photography business?
Well, what I'll say is having a business plan is necessary right from the start. The point where you made up your mind that this is what you want to do, this is what you want to take on as a career. And the reason I say that is I believe we are in an era of specialization, not generalization. So if you have a business plan, and a business plan is not just a matter of saying, this is how much I want to earn, blah, blah. It's more of adding forecast to business strategy. And that's what the whole business plan is all about. So if you don't have a business strategy in terms of what kind of niche do you want to go into? And how do you think you are going to build your network? How do you think you are going to be able to raise your revenue? In how many years are you going to get to your target point and all of that? You have to put it in. You have to put in the work. And as Abraham Lincoln said, when you give someone 8 hours to cut down a tree, he's going to spend like 7 hours to sharpen it and then 1 hour for the cutting. And these are things that you would have to do. If you are unable to have a concrete business plan to follow, you might end up making mistakes here and there and then probably just wasting your time. I believe most of us have gone through that stage where we started something, probably started as wedding photographers, and then we probably branched into landscape a little bit, and then we went into headshots, and then now we feel like, okay, our calling is, let's say, portraits, or our calling is fashion and stuff like that. And it's not because we are not good at what we do, but it's because we didn't have a valid plan available. And so it's just like any other, as I said, it's just like any other thing we do with our life. If you don't have a business plan with it, then you are ready to take risk, or your risk level is going to go up unnecessarily, and it's going to cost you more. You end up buy the wrong kind of gear, or you end up increasing your cost of service, or you end up reducing your revenue. All of these things tie down to not having the right business plan. So you need to have a business plan before you even do your first invoice, or before you even sign your first contract. Ideally, that's the case. Sometimes it's not the case, but you should try and then make the ideal case the real scenario. If it's too late, it's not too late. 2020 is gone. At the end of December, have your business plan for 2021 and see the difference between how you did, or how you've been doing so far in your photography, and then how you are doing when you know that there is a plan that you can review every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, to see if you're on course.
That's why it's a
Alright.
business.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think that's good advice
Creates a
for,
lot of people.
I think that's good advice for any business. I don't think you would start a baking company selling pancake mixes if you didn't have a business plan. You don't just put it together, make 20 batches, and say, okay, well, let me see if I can sell these. But I think some people maybe fall into photography. It starts as a hobby and it's something that develops into a business plan. But yeah, I think if I agree with Kobby, if it's something that you want to do full time as your of course your number one source of income, I think it's important that you stick to a strategy, develop a business plan. For many of us, photography is our second source of income, though not our first. So I will admit that I'm more laxed on that. I'm just looking at this source of this passive stream and this passive stream, and then I got a couple shoots here, and I know I got to shoot next month, and kind of doing it like that. So for me, it's kind of like fun money, if you will. It helps pay the bills. But if I were to start 2021 and say, hey, I'm losing my job and photography is going to be my full-time thing, I 100% would start a business plan. And to be honest, I would probably, like Evan said, either find a mentor, or I would maybe hire someone that knows more about business. I have some marketers in my family that are like, how come you don't have traffic pages set up to funnel traffic to your website? And I'm like, I don't know. Why do I need that? And they're like, well, how many people are you getting on your website? I'm like, I don't know, 200-300 a month. And they're like, well, that's not enough, because only 1% of those people that land on your website are going to turn to be into clients. So you're going to get 3 clients a month off your website. But if we had 10 other places to funnel traffic into your website, and you had 3,000 visitors a month, now you have 30 photo shoots a month. And I was just like, whoa, okay, so this is like the next step for me. So yeah, totally agree. Meeks, do you have something?
Yeah, I just want to add something real quick. So just like both of you said, having a good business plan always triumphs. It's not always about editing skill or shooting skill or the quality of the stuff. Let me put things into perspective here. Life Touch, okay? This company was bought by Shutterfly for $825 million. They take pictures in JPEG only. They don't edit. They print it directly and send it to parents. And they do the same in churches and stuff like that. I work for their sister company. I don't know if I should mention their name, but they were strong competitors. And while I was working for them, I got to learn about how their whole business was about. Their whole business was about, they had a very good plan. They would set up lights and deliver pictures on time. And once they used decent lenses and stuff, they didn't edit any of these pictures. They would print 8x10s that cost 10 cents. and sell each one for $15. It's ridiculous. Like the profit margin was just, but they had a plan and it worked, and the company just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. So it doesn't, you don't have to be the best photographer out there to make a killing if you have a good plan.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's the power of business plans, right? And that's why I think we need to maybe spend another 5 minutes talking about business plans, because it's very important. Most of us photographers, we always think about just the shoot, We have fun doing the shoot, right? Um, I'm not a full-time photographer. I work in IT. Photography business is on a part-time side income. But I've endeavored. I haven't followed my business plan 100%, but I did have some amount of business planning done, just to make sure that I have something to follow, right? But let's talk about some of the things that it's important to put in a business plan before Kobby gets into the PDF, the slideshow, and we get going. For one, your business plan should at least be able to tell what your niche is, your target group, but most importantly, it should also cover how you're going to do marketing, right? And where you're going to spend that, what your budget is for marketing, and where you're going to spend that money, right? So let's say I say for every $1,000 I make, I'm going to spend $100 for marketing my business to try to bring in more business, right? So I have that budget set, or I'm going to spend maybe 10% or 5% or whatever towards marketing. Now, you always have to review and figure out, where am I going to spend that 5% of my income for marketing on, and what is the benefit of that medium that I'm using to do the promotion? Is it Instagram ads? Is it Facebook ads? Or is it even YouTube ads, right? And always evaluate that and see that by placing these ads on those mediums or those forums, what am I getting back? And it doesn't always have to be paid. You can also promote in other free ways, but always do an evaluation to see that, how is that method that I'm using to promote yielding me extra customers or more income in one way or the other.
100%.
Yeah, I think basically you've said it all. One of the important ingredients of a business plan is definitely the market strategy, because when you look at closely most of the outlines that are on the internet about business plans, the first thing actually is to look at the markets that you are applying into. That's the market analysis. So if you are into photography, let's say you are into Toronto photography, you have to make a market analysis of it. Where is it right now? What are people doing right now? What's the most selling products in that particular market? Who are the top 5 leaders in that market? What are they doing different from all the others? That is the first step. That's the first market analysis that you have to make after you've introduced your business. Then the next one is to look at the counter marketing skill you are going to use to infiltrate. So that's where your market strategy comes in. Now you know what they are doing and you know what the people want that they are offering them, and then why they are paying for those services. So the next thing is, what are you bringing in? So you look at something in business, we call it the Porter's 5 forces, where you look at the barrier of entry and then the new competition and all of those substitutes and all of that. So let's say you look at, for instance, let's take the camera business. So when you take the camera business, you have the market analysis, which shows the top guys. I'll start from Sony, Canon, Nikon, Fuji. You have those guys there, but that's not all. You have all the others. Now you look at what they are doing, you realize that how much of the market do these guys have? They probably have about 70 to 80% of the whole market. Now, what are they doing that people really like? So that's some of the market analysis. Then you ask yourself, because every company does it every year. They look at the Porter's 5 forces, and I'm going to pull it up right quick so that we'll just discuss it, because people always forget that particular part. The fact that you are coming into the market doesn't mean someone has not already prepared for your arrival. So you come into the market thinking, oh, you are the new boy in the market and you are going to explode the market. And you come in and you realize that nobody even likes you because already someone has broken you down totally. So I'm going to share this real quick. I know I like sharing a lot of things. I'm sorry.
No, it's good, man. I like slides.
Okay, guys. So whilst Kobby is pulling up the slideshow to start, Maryland Drone Guy has a question. He says, "Do you all LLC, sole proprietorship, or nothing at all?"
Upgraded from a sole proprietor, well, a partnership actually, to an LLC, and yeah, it's been rough doing the quarterly taxes and stuff. So you gotta be ready for that.
I still do sole proprietorship, and I have to do. Well, the good thing is here we have to do our taxes maybe once a year. So when I do my personal taxes in April, I do the business tax as well.
Yeah. Well, I have sole proprietorship. I have one. I have two actually back in Ghana, and my wife has one here because I'm not yet in the position to have one here. But I'll definitely go for sole proprietorship because of the nature of my photography business. But then, as I said, if you know, for instance, the niche that you are in is going to also determine these kind of variables. Because let's say you've decided that you want to be a wedding photographer, but you don't want to be alone. So you are going into some form of synergy with a group of people. So let's say the 5 of us here decide that we are going to open a wedding production business. Then we are going to look at LLC. We are not going to be able to do sole proprietorship because, I mean, it's business. So in as much as we trust each other, we don't know what tomorrow holds. So we have to legally protect our assets as well as share in the liabilities of the
Especially
company.
You don't know what that guy. You never know what he's thinking. You know.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. You would have some more protections as an LLC than you would as a sole proprietor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Like if something happens, they can sue the LLC, but you can get to keep all your property, you know. And so there's that.
Exactly.
And also there are some venues, some big wedding venues that kind of require you to have certain levels of insurance, and they are just more comfortable with LLCs. But that's rare. That's not very common.
Yeah, here in Canada, it's not really a problem between the two. It's more on the terms of the liability, right? Either the liability is coming to you or going to the company. So that's the only way where you will incorporate, we call it. But at the same time, here in Canada, you could actually operate your photography business without even registering as a sole proprietor, because the rules allows us to be able to operate a business under your own name. So if you're operating the business under your own name, automatically you are considered a sole proprietor without having to register somehow.
Wow.
Interesting.
So I'll do this real quick. I think Evans will be the one to be able to help. And this is actually one of the things that I learned in school. I think I'll zoom in on each of them so that we'll be able to see it properly. So if you are going into a new business, or if you are going into a new form of any form of business at all, this is the Potter's 5 forces, something that you always have to take a look at in order to see how any of it is going to influence your pricing, your marketing strategy. This is it. And it's taught in business schools. I'm sure the MBA god himself, he has he has enough knowledge on that. So I'm going to run through it just real quick because it's fast paced. Let's say you're going into a new industry, photography. All right. The first thing we always look at is the competitive rivalry. Who are our competitors? So let's say you are going into wedding photography in Texas. The first thing you want to look at is who is there, who are the bosses over there, because that's the main key, because you want to check certain things like, wait, how much are these guys charging? If you have someone out there in Texas charging $20,000 for every wedding, and the guy is booked like every weekend, then you know there are certain things like customer loyalty being there. So you have to find a marketing strategy that's going to penetrate the customers that they already have. And how are you going to do that? What kind of networking skills do you need to do all of those things? Now, after you find out your competitive rivalries, the next thing you have to look out for is the supplier power. The supplier power. That's in terms of, let's say you're buying equipment, you're buying all of these things. All right. How possible is it to reduce the cost on that side? Or how possible is it for you to gain the amount of money that you'll be able to purchase? Let's say in Sacramento, I come to Sacramento and then there's only one photography store. That guy is going to sell a speed light to me for probably $1,000 because he's selling and he has no competition. So the supplier has more power in that particular market that you're looking out for. So those are the things you have to look, because sometimes, let's say I'm from Accra, all right? I'm from Ghana. In Accra, it's easy, it's cheap to get someone to print your pictures. Printing of pictures is probably very cheap in Accra. Because of that, it's dictated the price that you are charging your client. So you can charge $500 for even a wedding, and then you're okay with it because the suppliers, the power they have is very minimal. Their cost is very minimal. But then you come to the US and then you want to charge $500, and then you realize your printing alone is taking like $200 out of it. Transportation alone is taking like $100 back to back. Then you realize that, oh, I can't charge the same thing. So these are all marketing penetration things that you have to look out for. I don't know how Evans will be able to share it, but then we'll probably share the link to where you can find this, and then you can use it as part of your 2021 planning. Now, the buyer power is the next thing. How much are people willing to pay in that market that you are going to? The fact that you are from California and rent is $2,000 doesn't mean you can go to Texas and then when you buy a house in Texas, you want to charge a rent of $2,000 a month. Nobody is going to rent that apartment. So the buying power also influences it. Now, the issue is if there are 20,000 photographers there, and then you look at the top 10, and the top 10 are charging very cheap, and they are still getting the jobs, and the others are trying to struggle. The work that they do is not really that good. But the top 10's work is competitive enough that you see them as competitive rivalries, but they are not charging that much. Then you should know that, look, it's not easy for you to command the price you are trying to look out for, to command in that particular industry or that particular market. So maybe you might want to either look outside the local market in order to charge what you want to charge. So these are just influencers. They influence the strategy you want to go in for. The last but one stuff is the substitution, the threat of substitution. The kind of niche you are going into, how long is that going to last? Let's say you are into camera rentals. You can imagine the threat of substitution in terms of that. Or let's say you've decided that you are going to create a studio space for people to shoot. How long will it take before someone comes into the market and then says that, oh, I have this device that you can easily create a studio in your own house and then do your shoot. So you are always under that fear. When am I going to, like, what's the threat of me being obsolete in this kind of business I'm in? And it happens a lot to our photography, or even a lot of places. Like, let me consider the real world. When you look at retail, right? People who used to have stores and stuff, the threat of substitution now is like people are going to Amazon. Free shipping, 1 day shipping. Why should I go to the store? There is even pandemic now. Why should I go to the store? I'll just order. So now what are stores doing? Stores are crashing out. They are closing down because the threat of substitution has become real. So those are stuff that are you going to safeguard yourself from that? Then the last part of it, which is always the same as when you came into the market, is the threat of new entry. The same way you came into the market as a new entry, there's also another threat that somebody else is going to come into that market and take over and use the same analysis for you. So how are you going to safeguard yourself to be on top? Like the law of category. How are you going to say, I am the best decor photographer in that city, and it keeps you there, and you're going to live on that particular leverage? You are not going to be obsolete. No one is going to take your place. So this is normally the 5 things that I use when I get into a new market, or when I'm getting into a new category of photography that I want to do.
It's really good.
If that makes sense.
Nice. That's
very nice.
really good. Good evening, Rachel. All right. So I'm excited about where we're going. A lot of information to unpack. What I'll do is I'll take this slide from Kobby at some point, and those of you who are in the photography, the hybrid shooters group on Facebook, I will put a link in there for you to download. If you're not in the group, there's a link in the description. Join the group. We share our work in there. We answer questions in there. A lot of other photographers, videographers are also in there. Join in there, and we will share this slide in there as well, so everybody can take a look, have it for reference as you try to grow your business. The goal is for us to all grow our business. Like I always say, we are all photographers, but it's not a competition, right? Everybody has their own niche. Everybody has their own market space, and our goal is to grow, right, and build that community. All right. So, any questions from the comments? We will take. If you have any questions, Brian, Mix, Paul, anything else you guys want to talk about, we can take a look.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this was very informative. Some of the stuff, however, because of the global world in which we are right now, for example, for supplier power right now, you know, yourself, you were on live the other day and you wanted was it a microphone or something? You said you're gonna order it on Amazon. It will be here tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's same as you know, the supplier's power. So let's say you decide to relocate, you decide to go back home because you miss home. You should know you are not going to get that particular leverage that you have on them. So that local guy is going to tell you that, you know what, I'm going to add my duties and my import taxes and everything to the stuff you are buying. So you have no leverage over that. So like those are some of the things. I'm going to look at this as the last part, because this is always, as I said, the summary of how I go about my presentations. And this is to show that photography is just like any other business. And any other business has this income statement. So the whole idea is at the end of the day to get to your net profit after tax. And then you take your money, put it in your pocket, go home. and go spend it. So we just run through A to K. Anywhere I get to, and then you have any questions, you can interrupt me. I don't mind. I'm not petty. So I'm going to start. Yeah. What?
You said you didn't mind.
Yeah. So I'm paying attention. I thought someone was going to speak.
Nah, I was just messing up.
All right. So when you look at A, revenue, we all understand what revenue is. Revenue in photography, it's all about how much are you charging, how much clients are paying you. Full stop. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's just like any other business. Your principal income or your primary income, your primary activity, what money it brings you, that's your revenue. So in photography, your revenue is going to basically be the service you are providing, the photographic service. If people are not paying you for it, I don't know what you're doing. Calling yourself a photographer or a businessman when people are not paying revenue. Now let's go to the next stage, which is the funny, interesting one, the cost of sales or cost of service. Your cost of service are your primary expenses in photography. Primary. And when I say primary, I'm talking about the hours you use to shoot, the hours you use to edit, the hours you use to get clients their stuff. That's the hours. And I keep hitting on hours because I'm not focusing on any other stuff. The hours is the cost of your service. So if you are not calculating the hours you spend in editing and factoring it into your revenue, or another aspect of it is at the end of the day, your gross profit is going to be equal to your revenue if you are not charging for your hours of service. So if you are charging a client, say $500, and that $500 is because you are going to pay somebody else to do the editing for $500, then it means that your gross profit, which is number C or letter C, is zero. You are not making any gross profit. So this gross profit here in terms of photography actually means your photographic profit, the profit you make out of your photography business.
Out of the actual shoot, that you're doing.
Out of the actual shoot you are doing.
Mm.
So for me as a photographer, this is the first place I will check every month. And then ask myself, what's the profit margin over there? What's the gross profit margin? If I'm able to make like a gross profit margin of 50%, then it means that if a client is giving me $1,000, it means $500 is going into my hours that I spend to shoot, edit, send the work back to the client. And sometimes we always forget these things and we jump to the other stuff. Now, if we go to D, I don't know, so far, are we okay with C?
Yeah, I get it.
Because most of Brian's money is not coming from C, and he's not happy at all. So when you get to D is the selling expense. Selling expense in photography, you are talking about marketing, your branding stuff, the things that you spend in order to make sure that people recognize you and are able to patronize your business. So stuff that have to do with marketing, stuff that have to do with network events, all of those things, they come at selling expense because you can't peg it directly to a specific client's job. So I don't know if it makes sense now.
Oh yeah. Keep going.
I should keep going.
Yep.
It's making sense because
Yes.
I'm so stressed right now because I can't read anyone's reaction.
I'm good. I'm good.
Poker face.
Don't worry. There are a lot more people who will watch it live and and probably have better expressions. So keep going.
Yeah. Now, when we come to administrative expense, we are talking about rent. We are talking about stuff like supplies, groceries. Let's say you have a studio, so you buy groceries, you put it there. You have a studio, so you buy papers, you buy printers, stuff like that. All those are administrative expenses.
Mhm.
And they are still not expenses that you can tie relatively to a specific job. That's why it's over there at F to determine your operating profit.
Mhm.
So first of all, C is telling you that based on this job, this is how much money you are getting out of this job. And then F is telling you that after you got that money, you use some to maybe do Facebook ads, you use some to pay your website, you use some to do some giveaways online and all of that. So F is saying this is how much is left on there.
Mhm.
Then you go to G, which is where I believe Brian is doing a fantastic job. Other income. So for instance, you're selling prints. You're selling prints, you're getting money from stock images, or you've invested in some kind of bonds or some kind of stock market index and all of that. So it's giving you some extra income coming in. Or you are into your very little printing press that you have in your house and all of that. So those other income filters into G just to increase the operating profits that you have at F. And then if you are terrible with money, so you have some interest expenses, you've borrowed money from people and all of that, or borrowed money from the bank and
Or
all
you
of
have
that.
some gears to pay off.
Yeah. Now, I intentionally left one thing out, which I'll come back to. And that's going to be like a pivot point for a lot of people here because they kind of misconstrue it. Now, after your expenses, and then after you have your profit before tax, you pay your tax, whatever you have is what goes into your pocket. People think K is actual money that you have. So this income statement is definitely different from what goes into your pocket if you are a photographer. The reason be that, let me take you back to the cost, to E, administrative expense. When you buy a gear, when you buy your Canon R5, R6, you can't charge all of it,
To one job.
not even to one job, to your statement, because it's an equipment, it's an asset.
Yeah.
So you have to determine how long is it going to last. If it's going to last for 2 years, you divide the cost. If it was $3,000, you divide it into two. $1,005, $1,005. You charge $1,005 for this year and charge $1,005 for next year, which the accountants call depreciation, or in the olden days they call it wear and tear.
Mhm.
And that's what most people don't do. So when they start photography, the mistake they do is in the first year, they are probably going to run at a loss because D, which is the selling expense, is going to be high. You are going to spend a lot marketing yourself, but you are not going to get a revenue. So you are going to have a loss at the end of the day. But then you charge all the equipment you bought into that year. And once you have a loss, you have a loss. You are not paying any tax on it. But then if you're able to depreciate the asset you have, then it means you can carry some of the assets to the next year and you can deduct more out of your profit in order to pay a bit more less tax legally. So that's why it's necessary that once you go pro into the business side of photography, you at least find an accountant to shape up your bookkeeping and all of that.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
So it's really necessary. I feel most people think photography business is not the same as what Amazon is or what Sony is, or let's say what Alibaba is. Or everyone follows this structure.
Yeah.
It's just that it's complex for some people. So that's one thing that I'm looking out now for, to create at least a little Excel sheet that we can have, and then we can use it to plan our 2021.
Yeah.
So if any questions so far.
Do you have
Awesome.
an accountant,
So-
Kobby?
What?
Do you have your own accountant?
I am my accountant.
He is his own accountant. He's an accountant.
I'm an accountant,
are an
I'm a
accountant.
tax consultant, I'm
Do you
everything.
hire anyone on the side to do your actual bookkeeping?
Yeah, I actually do bookkeeping for people.
Mm.
Yeah. But I'm training one of my siblings to do bookkeeping as well, because I want to focus on making more money,
Yeah.
not helping
I enjoy
people.
working with negative numbers, because you might enjoy working with my bank account.
Negative.
Because the secret is the reason why most tax authorities, they ask for your bank statement, and then they ask for your file, your expenses file, or your income file, and all. It's because of this, tying the two. It's just all about tying the two. That's why bookkeeping is really necessary. People overlook the fact that bookkeeping is not because someone wants to stress your life. It's because you want to stress someone's life. There was a time that I was working for a specific NGO, and then the IRS showed up. They said, "We want your files." So I gave them about 7 big files. And all of those files were just files that had to do with expenses, little expenses. It even included every bottle of water we bought, everything. So they sit there, have a whole Excel sheet. They have to type it all in. In 2 days, the guy was like, "Oh, well, he's done with it, or there's no issues." He couldn't go through all the files. So you can imagine, you as a photographer, they come to you, "Where are your files?" And then you tell them, "Well, you don't really have a good file." They'll tell you that the traveling that you traveled to London to go do a shoot, it wasn't for photography. You went there to chill, and you have no defense. And those are all some of the things. Like, it happens, and people don't think it can ever happen to them.
All right, there's one thing I want to add real quick. So if you guys ever become an LLC, you either you have a certified accountant on deck, or one of these online ones, or maybe have Intuit, but having your own Excel sheet is not going to cut it for an audit. At least that was the case in Pennsylvania. I'm still fully learning the laws in Texas, but LLC is national, so I still have a few things to learn about Texas stuff. But I was helping a friend out when he was audited, and he had his own Excel files. He was trying to pull everything out. They were like, "Nope, that's not gonna cut it." So
So
one tool that I use is the Intuit, the QuickBooks. There's a couple of them. There is one that is on your phone, and what it does is it links up with your bank account or your credit card. So whenever I'm doing purchases for business use or traveling for business use, gas purchases and stuff, I'm using a card, right?
Wait,
and then
hold on.
right there.
So Evans, you make purchases for business use?
Yeah,
Just
I do.
kidding.
Yeah,
Like
My own
like
idea.
the black magic.
yeah.
So if I'm traveling for a shoot, it's all business expense, right? That's one of the things that photographers we need to try to get acquainted with and learn to document these things properly. If I'm traveling to a wedding go shoot a wedding, my driving kilometers, they're all business expenses, right? The gas I'm using to drive is all business expenses. The purchase of your camera is a business expense. And as Kobby said, you may not want to charge it all in 1 year. but you can break it up into 2 or 3 years, so it cuts down your tax burden for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
So all the stuff that you purchase for business, it's always important to make sure you're purchasing either on a card, or a debit card or a credit card, so it can easily be tracked and traced when there is an audit, right? And
Yeah.
like I said, I use Intuit QuickBooks, and it automatically tracks my mileage and as well as the expenses. So you just link it up with your bank account or your credit card, and then you can track all your expenses. And inside the app, distinguish what is a business expense to what is a personal expense on that same card if you're using your personal card, not the business card. Right? It
Yeah.
makes it easy for you to protect yourself when the big brother comes calling.
Yeah. And Evans, one thing that I'll add is what you do, okay, what you do in, say, your Excel sheet or in your company, that is your management account.
Yep.
Now, when you translate that into your financial statement, it has to be verified. I don't know about the laws in different states across, but I think globally, you still need an external person to verify the account. And that's why normally they use the CPAs, because then they've sworn an oath to be truthful and honest in all the things that they see. Or they call it the fair, it's a free and fair reflection of the person's business. So you may have a management account, but it's not going to cut it for the taxman. The taxman still wants to know that the people he trusts have verified the information that you've given out there. So that's why you say that, like, Excel sheets and all of that is not going to track, but it's going to help the person who is going to help you prepare it.
Mhm.
So you might not have it now. I think QuickBooks is one of the best, to be honest. I use QuickBooks for most of the clients that I run for, most of the companies I run for. And the QuickBooks Online, which I think that's what Evans uses,
That's what I'm using. Yep.
yeah, is the best one, because then you can use it on your phone. All you have to do is just take a picture of any invoice that you have.
Any
Now,
receipts, whatever. Yep.
now, one thing is, those of you who do not use business debit card or credit card, one secret is use a Tom card for your fuels. I don't know if Tom card works wherever you are, but then you can put a specific amount of money on a card for fuel, and then you use it to buy a fuel. If you use cash to buy fuel, it's difficult for you to recover it for as business purpose. If you use cash to buy fuel, it's difficult. In fact, it's almost zero. Using of cash to buy anything in your business is complicated, especially if you are a sole proprietor.
Mhm.
It's difficult to recover it. And you know, some of the states you can actually, or some of the countries, you can actually get back your medical expenses. You can take a portion of that. You know, right now where you guys are sitting doing this YouTube stuff, that particular feat of your home office,
Mhm.
you can deduct that part of the rent
Really?
as administrative expense.
Kobe, that's why I put my light all the way on the other side of my apartment so I can claim the whole.
You can deduct it. I know in a place like California, you can deduct up to a maximum of 30% of your rent.
Yeah, and same
Yeah.
here. Even
So
my
here in
my
Ontario, if
internet,
you,
my cell phone, I clean 20% of my phone, 50%
Yeah.
of my internet. You know, why do I need high speed upload? Because I'm uploading, 20 gigs of files, right?
Yeah.
correct. And so my scenario, for example, both my daytime job and my photography job requires me to work from home, right? So for the last what, maybe 15, 20 years, a portion of my rent is tax deductible because I work from home, right? So it all, you gotta know the laws in your area on how much of a percentage of your workspace you can claim. But if you're working from your home and you're using your house for your as your editing space, for your photography business, then that is also tax deductible.
Yeah.
All right.
if you have kids, even if they're as little as
You can't employ your kids.
can actually, that you can deduct up to, is it 6 grand or something like that? Yeah,
Your babies,
your kids, yeah.
you'd have to
Yeah,
defend
okay.
that.
Look it up. Yeah, you can.
It's so interesting. Like people think when they hear stuff like accounting, tax, it's all about money going out of their pocket. They don't realize how much money it can actually keep in their pocket. And I get it. Nobody likes the IRS. Someone said something the last time that he's doing his first tax return. Why wouldn't the IRS just tell him how much he should pay? Yet when he files whatever he wants to file, they tell him that that's not the right amount. So if you know the right amount, why would you tell me? So it's tedious. It's tedious and all of that. But starts when you start a business, right? That's why I'm really happy we're having this discussion in December, because then 2021 we can really start it strong and then make sure we see how it goes. So guys, there is this thing that I'm planning to do for 2021, which is like a focus business group, where at the beginning of the year we provide accountability statements to each other, telling each other our goals in terms of how much profit margin we want to have at the end of the year, in terms of how much revenue we are targeting, so that periodically we can come together maybe every quarter or at the end of every month just to see where each person is. And then if they are not fully where they want to be, we see what's going on and how best we can put each other in that safe zone. I
Where are
don't
you
know if you
doing
guys
groups?
are up for that.
Where are you doing these groups?
Zoom, of course.
Oh, on Zoom.
Yeah.
Is it through
Virtual
you?
meetings.
Nice.
Mm.
How do you sign up for this?
Well, I'm still putting down the fundamentals because I don't want it to be just like any other zombie group where we start and then we die off.
Yeah.
So I want it to be as elite as possible, like not just any person clicking and joining in. Because yeah, it's going to be tough for someone like Evans. He can't change his mind like he used to.
All right, so I think we are almost about 15 minutes over the hour.
Yeah.
This topic is interesting, and if we want to go, we'll keep going for the whole day. But it's important we talk about these things so we all grow in our business and in our photography skills. So, as we're always talking about developing our shooting skills and our editing skills, I think it's from time to time we also need to talk about the business aspects of actually making some income out of what we are doing. Right. So a big thank you, Kobby, for coming along tonight and explaining. And like I said, guys, go out there, check out his channel. The link is in the description. He is going to be focused more on his channel, a lot more on the business aspects of photography,
Yeah.
growing your photography business, getting the most that you can out of your photography business. So check out his channel. The link is in the description. Go subscribe, and you're gonna be, have a lot of good information coming up on that channel. Also, go check out each of the guys' channel. It's all in the description. Instagrams and IGs and Facebook, I mean YouTube's are all in the description as well. We have a YouTube group where we also share our stuff, our work, and comment and receive answers and stuff like that. It's also in the link. Check us out there. Mr. Brian James is almost at 1,000 subs, so let's make it happen.
Yeah.
We need seven more subs. Let's make it
Four
happen.
more. Four more.
Oh,
Four more?
Formal.
Yeah,
Whoa.
we coming there. We getting there. So head on over to Mr. Brian James' channel. The link is in the description. Let's get him that 4 subscribers tonight. All right,
Tonight.
Get it done.
tonight, guys.
that's it.
All right. I hope you guys had fun, but we're gonna go around the table, starting with Meeks for any last comments as we go.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Kobby, for your awesome presentation. And I don't hope, I'm sure everybody learned something from today's show. So if you guys want this to keep on going, do well to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and that motivates us to keep coming and chugging along. So thank you for being here.
Totally.
Mr. Paul.
Big thanks to Kobby for jumping on. I think we can probably have an 8-hour show on this thing. I don't think we even scratched the surface.
No.
I think we just kind of covered the bare bones of how to start a business, which is great. I'm sure we'll do like a part 2 at some point. And yeah, thanks everyone for jumping on. I mean, there's a lot to learn, and I think don't let it take away from your fun of photography, because I think going in the business side might deter people from keeping shooting. But you don't have to make photography a business. Like if there's something that you want to do on the side for fun, just keep doing it, right? So, but if you do want to make it a business, just make sure that it's not sucking the fun out of it, because chances are the business won't succeed in the long run. So you need to make sure that you're enjoying it along the journey, and that's kind of my pitch. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to all these guys, especially Kobby. He just launched his YouTube channel last week. I think he might be dropping a video this week too. So
yeah,
tomorrow maybe.
Tomorrow, definitely.
Jeez, go check it out. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, Mr. Brian James.
Right on for me. Thank you. It's been said 4 times, but Kobby, thanks for joining us. Definitely, we need a part 2 on this.
I think so.
And thank you everyone for that jumped on tonight, supporting us. Really appreciate it. Just say everybody, please stay safe, wash your hands, and stop infecting us all, so we can come out of this healthy and alive, and actually travel again, so I can have some more expenses I can write off on my taxes, because I'm not doing the traveling right now.
Yeah.
All right, Kobby.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast being on Open Shutter. You guys are just fantastic, especially the guys in the comment section and those listening. I know anytime like we talk about photography business, there isn't a lot of people talking. But then right after we are done here, I get a lot of messages in my inbox asking a few questions. So you can always hop into my DM. You can always ask me a question that you want to ask me. And thank you guys so much. You guys are wonderful. And I believe we are definitely going to have a lot more sessions on this. And just sign on, subscribe to my page, and then let's keep learning. It's not going to be a difficult business lecture. It's going to be fun. You can check it out from my first video. It's going to be a lot of fun. You will enjoy learning it. And
premiere it.
yeah. And so guys, just stick around. Open Shutter is here to stay. So
yeah.
We're
just getting started, man.
Cool. Evans.
This may be a surprise to all of you host guys. If you guys didn't notice, we were live on YouTube and Facebook today.
Everyone's doing some magic over there.
And you don't know, I was restreaming this through Twitch to MySpace.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so those of you on YouTube, don't forget you can also check out on Facebook you can also check out our YouTube channels, and subscribe as well. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you next Wednesday on Open Shutter.
Yeah.
Peace.
Cool. Thanks, guys.